Yo, what up, YouTube? Um, yeah, I just wanted to jump on here real quick and talk about what happened last night because that's what everybody's talking about right now. And I hadn't done a video in I guess a little bit of time because I've been busy. But yeah, last night the last 8 seconds of Pittsburgh and the Cleveland Browns game was it was something that we should not have witnessed. That's not what the NFL wants to see happen. It's not what true fans of the game wants to see happen. It was the last 8 seconds of that game kind of overshadowed how well Cleveland played last night. And they've been under heavy criticism, because of Baker Mayfield and, the coach, Coach Freddie Kitchens and the job that he's doing over there. But, they put a real complete game together. And unfortunately, people are not really talking about the way they played and how they ended up with the victory. Instead, they're talking about Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph. And it was really hard to watch when you think about it because, we've seen fights before, in just about every sport. But when you take somebody's helmet off and uses it and use it against them, then that pushes things into another stratosphere, so to speak. Oh, wow. I'm sitting. I'll tell you what just happened here while I'm sitting here trying to do this video. I'm sitting in a parking lot of LA Fitness, and I just witnessed an accident. A man was coming down the aisle, and a woman just pulled out from her parking space about three spaces over from me, and she hit him on the back. That's kind of rough. But it looks like he's going to let her go because it wasn't any damage. But anyway, let me get back to my story. Yeah, so, I forgot what left off. But anyway, it was a good game. It was a good game by Cleveland. And a bad outing for Pittsburgh as far as the actual game goes itself. But like I said, overshadowed by all that, or I'm sorry, the thing that overshadowed the game was what Myles Garrett did. You can't do that. I don't care how upset you get with somebody on the field. And anybody who's played sports, not just professional sports, but any type of, different levels, high school, college, whatever, minor league, whatever, junior sports, whatever, there are things that you cannot do. A lot people talk trash all the time. They say things, they probably talk about your mama and daddy, stuff like that, but you can't let that, let your anger get outside of you to the point you attack somebody and possibly injure them or could, well, it's great nothing happened last night as far as that goes. But then again, we really don't know. The guy got hit on the head with a helmet that, from what I understand, is a new type of helmet that weighs more than the helmets that they used to use. And I heard somebody say that it's probably closer to I don't know how true this is. Maybe a 10-pound helmet. I don't know what it is, but they say it weighs more significantly than the other helmet. But when you let your anger get the best of you to the point that you go after somebody and possibly injure them to the point that they cannot play anymore, or like I heard somebody else say, if he had hit him in the head with the right side, the top of that helmet, the conversation could be a lot more grim and uglier, nastier than what the conversation is right now. He hit him. He actually hit him in the head with the helmet, but it was the bottom, which I thought was pretty rough too, because it's the edge of the helmet right there where you go to put the put that helmet on your head, when you grab the right and the left side, he hit him on the top of the head with one of those sides there, because he was swinging it by the face mask. But the bottom line is, you can't hit somebody, you can't make a weapon out of something, out of somebody else's helmet or whatever else you find. If it's a basketball game, imagine a guy getting upset and grabbing one of the chairs on the bench and hitting somebody with. Those are things you cannot do. And immediately a lot of people start talking about what happened with the Malice in the Palace, between Indiana and Detroit back in the day, but whatever the case, whatever it reminds you of, it wasn't a good look for the NFL. Here we are trying to celebrate the 100th season of a great sport, for all those who are fans of it, and then we have something like this happen. And to be honest, when you think about it, this year, with us trying to celebrate, the NFL, we've had, a lot of different discussions or issues that have taken away from the celebration of the NFL, starting with Antonio Brown and his helmet issue, and then the referees calling a lot of helmet-to-helmet contact type stuff, and now you got Myles Garrett using Mason Rudolph's helmet to hit him over the head with. And, not to make light of it, but it seems like all the things that are taken away from the celebration of the NFL's 100th season seems to be centered around helmets, which is weird. But anyway, this what happened last night should not have happened, and you have to make this has always been my take on anybody who has crossed the line. You have to make examples out of people when they do things like this to keep it from happening again. You got to put the hammer down. And right now they're saying he's suspended indefinitely. I think that's good. Who knows what it'll end up being, but right now we know that he's done for the rest of this year, which is good. Okay. Now, how far will that extend into next season? Maybe they hit him with another 5 or 6 games to start the season. And by the way, all this, the suspension is without pay, so that's something else that will get these young guys' attention, take them out the game, take them off the field, and hit them in the pockets. That, unfortunately, that's what people respond to the most. But you got to make it count. You got to hit them, and you got to hit them hard, because there's no place in this sport or any sport really, for that type of behavior, and then I hear some people saying, well, Rudolph started it. I don't care what Rudolph did. From what I saw, it was a late hit by Myles Garrett, and Mason was trying to get him up off of him. Now I'm hearing other people say that Mason was actually trying to rip his helmet off, which I did not see. I saw him put his hands on Myles Garrett's helmet and try to push him up off of him, because it was a late hit and he was just laying on him. And it's the end of the game too. You're up by 2 touchdowns. There's no reason for Myles Garrett to do what he did, and whatever Mason Rudolph did after that, it did not warrant him getting hit in the head with his own helmet. Those helmets they're not light. Okay. So there's a reason. Myles Garrett hit him in the head with a helmet. What if he split his head open, gave him a concussion, or like I said earlier, if he had hit him at the right spot, say he hit him in the side of the head, in the temple, he could be hospitalized right now, with the way he swung that helmet. And we're talking about Myles Garrett, a big defensive lineman who's, everybody knows he's extremely strong if you haven't seen this guy. And to think about it, he's going after a quarterback and hitting him in the head. The force that he was coming down with when he was swinging, he could have done, the bottom line, he could have done some major, major damage. And the fact that Mason Rudolph was able to stand up there at the end of the game and during the press conference and actually talk about it, was a blessing, right there, which says he wasn't hurt too badly. Now, I don't know what further examination will reveal, later on, because, sometimes, because what I hear, I hear a lot of people say, when you're like, for instance, if you're in a car accident and immediately after the accident, you say you feel fine or whatever, but then later on, you start feeling aches and pains and stuff like that. That's why they advise you, to go to the hospital and get checked out, because you may feel good, but, there may have been some damage done there, right? So I'm thinking the same thing with this hit to the head, the hit to the head, with a helmet. He may have felt okay right then, especially with, him being amped up, adrenaline, still going, because it was, at the end of the game and everything like that. He may not have felt what, he may not have felt the pain or, the damage that was done at that time, so, let's stay tuned. Who knows how Mason will feel, a couple of days from now, so, but we know that there wasn't any, well, we think that there was no serious damage done because he was talking after the game, but let's hope that that is still the case, 3 or 4 days down the road. But bottom line, you can't have that type of activity going on in any sport, and for that, I think he needs to miss a full year. Because this is no ordinary fight. He removed a helmet and hit a guy over the head hit a guy over the head with it, and that you cannot have. And you got to make an example out of these guys. As far as Pouncey goes, I understand him coming to the rescue of his quarterback. I mean, because he's your quarterback. You got to protect your quarterback. The team is only as good as, the guy behind the center, and when you have a defensive guy jumping on your quarterback, hitting him in the head with his own helmet, you're supposed to do something. You're supposed to come to his rescue. So I definitely understood that. But I also know that he's going to get fined, because of how he reacted. But I don't blame him for that. This whole thing started with Myles, in my opinion. So Myles needs to be dealt with accordingly. So weird. Yeah. And I saw where somebody said online a month ago, Myles got sucker punched, by a fan, and he ain't do anything. But then he comes out on the field last night and attacks a quarterback, So I thought that was kind of a little bit funny or whatever, You attack a poor quarterback that with a helmet, when you could have just walked away, or pushed him or something like that and left it at that. So, but anyway, the referees got to get a better hold of situations like this, and the league as a whole needs to come down hard on guys that intend on breaking the rules and crossing the line the way that Myles did last night. So, all right, NFL, let's get this right. Let's correct it and right the ship, and hopefully the 100th season of the NFL could finish on a good note. All right, that's my take on it. But let me know what you think. Do you think the suspension and the way that they came down on everybody was fair? Because they gave Pouncey 3 games, and then they gave the guy who pushed Mason Rudolph to the ground after that, they gave him 1 game, which I don't understand. I mean, Mason is standing there with his back to the guy, and the guy walks up to him and pushes him on the ground, and he doesn't. And at this time, he doesn't have a helmet on. So you walk up behind a quarterback and push him to the ground. Big old defensive lineman. I just don't agree with big guys like that picking on quarterbacks. I just don't understand that. You could push him, if you get into, if there's some type of discussion going on between you, I understand, okay, you push him, and put him in his place and let him know, hey, you're just a quarterback. I'll handle you if I need to, but they actually attacked him the way that Myles did, and then to push him to the ground like this guy did, uncalled for. It really was. But they gave him 1 game for pushing him to the ground. Garrett is suspended indefinitely, and Pouncey gets 3 games. But just let me know what you think. If the suspension was fair, if it needs to be more, or what you think it should be. period. How do you think the NFL should handle this? All right? Can't wait to hear from you. Drop me a line below. Let me know how you feel. Peace.